And in this segment, we're going to talk about the mast and the motor and the connection and things like that. First, just want to kind of show you the plus versus the Evo 35-inch larger motor. It's significantly larger, therefore it is heavier. It's much, more solidly built, more powerful, but it comes at a little bit of a weight cost, right? I like the old mast. I like the old motor. I like the whole setup. It just worked. And I have the my favorite folding prop on it. I kept this little contraption that they gave out in the beginning when wings were kind of like get broken because the strength of the connection wasn't it. But they fix it in the plus. But I just force of habit, I keep it. Plus my kids ride it, their friends ride it, and they hit sandy ground all the time. And I believe this really kind of helped it. It may affect performance a little bit, but so what? They're kids. But I don't let them ride it anymore with the folding prop. It's too dangerous. People say they've never been tagged. I can show you some pictures of myself and one of the other kids. So don't do it. If you're teaching, you're showing somebody something, better be safe than to be sorry, right? And so this is I just want to show you the difference. But I also want to show you something really, really significant too as well. One of the big things that we had problem with, or I did, I know a couple other writers too, is that in this design you can see the bolt pattern on here, and these particular bolts right here, the screws, they get loosened over time, and so the motor wobbles a little bit, right? And so every third or fourth ride I would just check on them, and sometimes I have to tighten it, but I always Loctite it. So these never came off on me, but I heard that they've loosened on some other people too as well. But these I always check, right? And so was sort of a point where was a concern for me, but they completely went away with that with this design. It's completely slick. It's self-containing. Yeah, there's a little connection point to the mast to the motor, but other than that, it's just one solid piece for the most part. And it's no extra part for it to come loose. And I've only ridden it for a little while, maybe a month or so, and not quite that often, but it's been a super solid. From a hardware perspective, it's just solid, just completely solid. And yeah, so I just want to point that out. And right now I don't have the folding prop with the Evo yet, and I'm really curious and dying to get one. I think it's coming at the end of the month, and I want to be the first one to get it and ride with it and see how much more performance gain can I get out of this, right? So that's one thing I want to kind of walk through. I'm going to put this down for now. Let's talk about a couple other things. The Evo motor. Okay, gotta be a little bit careful. You would not believe this thing. This is the larger motor. I know with the new package, the Pro, it's a smaller motor, but this thing is so powerful. I have no doubt if you're 250 pounds, this thing is going to get you up, and no problem. This prop here is a standard 3-blade prop. What I do like about it, I'm hoping I can just do it really quick, but I can just talk you through it, and I've done it already. It's that taking changing prop now is easy. I just basically use my screwdriver and turn the screw here and pop this cap off, the whole prop come out. Hopefully I can just get a new prop from somewhere, or from Waydoo, or the folding prop, and just stick in and screw this back in. So I think it works on the idea that the props spin one way and the unscrew spin the other way. So that way, you know, kind of like continuous locking, kind of like a boat, what the boat does. But the other amazing thing that I want to tell you guys that I reported this back, and I had 2 other riders that actually witnessed this, which I think is significant and a good testament to Waydoo too as well. Cheers. So about a week ago, we all went out for another ride in Washington, D.C. and I launched off a dock that I'm not as familiar with. I did not realize that as soon as I took off from the dock, the prop and the motor suck up this entire line that was lurking underneath it. And I have video proof that it wrapped like multiple times around the base of the prop, around the prop, around the pieces, and it was literally trailing also a good parts of it like this. Now under any normal circumstances, you know, that would have been gone, right? Maybe even with a boat prop for a matter. But I felt I was being held back a little bit. But at the time, I wasn't using the flight assist as much as I like to, and I didn't really understand the differences. I know that when it's on, the motor comes on and off, and you know, constantly adjusting. So that's what I thought it was doing, because I thought, hey, you know, maybe I've left the flight assist on, and so I just didn't bother with it, and I kept on going. The guys were waiting for me, and so I just took off, right? And unbeknownst to me, all of this, guys, all of this was stuck in my prop. And the strength of the motor and just the overall design, I was on the gliding 1500. I was just going whale watching that day and taking videos of the guys, you know, because I was just, that was going to be my role that day, just kind of cruising around. So we rode, I think on that video, which I'm going to put up, closer to 11 miles, and my battery died. First one to die. And normally I'm the last one to come in, because you know, my battery outlasts the flight, the lift, our other Waydoo Plus, but they were, you know, luckily we were riding together, so they just pulled me back into shore, into the dock. And that's when we were all laughing how much crap was in my prop. But yet I was still foiling like it was nothing. And we cruised 11 miles with it. Imagine that. Other people are claiming they got something stuck and it break the prop and blades. And I completely believe them, but I could not believe that I was able to travel that far over an hour. I think between an hour and 25 minutes, even with all of that, holding it back. So huge testament to the motor, the engineering, the quality of it. So I thought it was really cool news. Oh, here's another cool news. Everything happened by accident, right? You learn that way. Another time I went out and I was testing, and in my rush, as always, got out of meeting and I'm like, hey, I gotta get down there and ride. In my rush, I forgot my staff, my stabilizer, my rear wing, right? And so instead of going home, I'm like, screw it. Put the front wing on, this one to be precise. Just like that. And I went out. So if you happen to forget that rear stabilizer for whatever it is, don't fret it. Just put on whatever largest wing you have there and go. You're gonna feel something different. You're gonna learn something different. But I had to do a little shifting around, but I rode just fine. It was kind of fun actually because it was so loose that I felt like I was riding on a smaller wing, right? It was just a blast. It just, you know, turn a mistake into something positive in a sense that, so yeah, you can ride it. I can attest to that. The other nice little addition that they put on, added to the whole configuration was the extender. So basically your rear wing, it has, oh by the way, it has a little notch here and that's the only difference, but if you have the old wing, you can use that too. And honestly, if you have the old wing carbon, use that. Because this one flexes a little bit. The carbon doesn't. So that's normally where it sits, right? And if you have the big stable, big gliding wing on there, it turns a little bit better, but it may not give you as much of the stability that you want. So the idea of this extender, and it's actually a direct comment from a lot of us who rides, you know, in different condition. This will push the stabilizer to about right here. A good, you know, a good 5-inch further back. What that does is like extend the overall kind of like configuration of the front, the relationship between the front and the rear, and it's more stable. And it actually supposedly provides more riding time, which I believe. I haven't tested it out because it just takes forever to, you know, exhaust the battery, and I don't feel like doing it. But I believe it because I've ridden it both ways, and it's more stable that way, but it's harder to turn. However, you can also try it with the smaller wing and extend it out, or the smaller wing not extend it out. Each time I feel like I'm relearning, you know, e-foiling altogether. It's that much of a difference. When you switch from one to the other and the tail and extending out, it's almost like an unlimited amount of different things, and it's just like it's fun because each day can be a different experience. And then when you add the waves to it, when you add the chops and the wind and everything else and other riders and things like that too as well, it's super fun and interesting, and not just whale watching all the time. You know, I know some people like that, but I get bored after a while. But then again, there were some of those magical days when you're just riding for 2 hours and just sightsee around the lake or whatever it is. But yeah, as far as the motor goes, I really like that there are no other bolts now, right? The other thing is, you probably saw it just a second ago, is a 3-point connection to the front wing. And that is different than the Plus. Plus only have 2, and you can see that that could cause, you know, a little bit of flex, right? But so far I've never had any problem with it, except for some prototype wing. But yeah, so this is just giving it a lot more stability, a lot of just give you more confidence in the connection point. Alright, got so much crap here. So other than that, I don't have much more to say other than 35-inch. What is this going to do? Going to get you above the chops, and it's really, or actually allows you to ride a little bit lower too as well into the water. But I do like it when, you know, we're out in really choppy waters all the time, and in the ocean too as well, in the bay and all that good stuff, right? So the masts really make a difference. You just kind of like glide over the smaller chop. The bigger chops, waves, you know, haven't gotten to that yet, but I'm heading to the Outer Banks soon. But I love the height. One thing though, I was not prepared for. I was riding the smaller, shorter mast, and when I got onto this, I kept thinking that I was going to breach and I was going to dump, and that never happened, right? And so I'm constantly like, you know, in fear for a little while, and then also I'm like, oh yeah, I can go higher, and the next thing I know, I'm like way out there, and then I hear that god awful breaching noise. But breaching with this motor and things like that is not a big deal. If you hear it, just ignore it almost and just lean a little bit forward and it's gone. Just, you know, or just untether it, or just give it a little bit less power. That would just solve it. There's no reason to panic or anything like that. And I remember in the old days when you breach, you just basically, you know, kind of pray, right? So I know I'm probably gonna be missing a lot of stuff here, guys, but that's what I can remember so far. I wrote down some notes, but yeah. Okay, let's end this session. We're gonna go to the chargers next, maybe.